Hello Internet, and welcome to the video I'm going to do this week about the origins of Nerdweek. Now, a lot of you might not realize that Nerdweek is a thing. It is, however, a long and storied historical tradition, and this week I'm going to lay out for you sort of the history of that particular tradition, because as some of you again might or might not know, next week I will be the host of the 2017 edition of Nerdweek. And yeah, I won't really have time to do any videos for a while except for Nerdweek vlogs, but I figured you should have the true, honest and complete historical explanation of what Nerdweek is. So enjoy. The origins of the tradition of Nerdweek is in fact shrouded in mystery. The ancient Egyptians claim to have begun the tradition somewhere during the New Kingdom, and there are even rumors that it originated in the plains of Deccan in about 700 BC. In fact, the earliest rice scrolls from the Shang dynasty of China, more specifically during the era of the Emperor Shang, proves that it first transpired in approximately the year 1578 BC on a small island in the Yellow Sea, where the greatest collection of Chinese philosophers got together with the greatest collection of most beautiful women in Asia at the time to, quote, discuss the state of the world and come to some overall conclusion as to its meaning and value. An apocryphal scroll basically described it as a large drunken debauchery. But, you know, as the host of the current Nerdweek, I choose to describe that as utter slander. From China, the tradition of Nerdweek and its secret rituals of discussion seem to in fact have indeed spread into India. There is definitely some rumors that the Buddha himself was part of the great gathering of all the best minds in Asia whatsoever in the year 525 BC, where a collection of every single philosopher, ruler, and just basic overall civil servants from India, China, and all the empires of the East gathered in a small island in the Ganges River in order to basically hammer out any differences that occurred in Asia during that particular era. Again, some apocryphal writings basically describes this as one large sexual drunken orgy, but again, as the host of the current Nerdweek 2017, I utterly reject such slander. The Greeks, of course, were also eager to get in on the thing, and particularly the island of Corfu became a popular gathering for philosophers discussing things for a week every year. Particularly the one in 404 is famous, where Socrates and Plato hosted every single philosopher possible from across the Greek world, despite, in fact, the ongoing Peloponnesian War, to discuss the relevance of reality and the existence of matter in a sort of, overall scientific fashion. A traveling Egyptian has left a papyrus scripture utterly praising the event that he happened to pass upon, in fact, on Corfu, as probably the greatest drinking orgy I have ever, and I refuse to read more of this particular scripture because it was new to me and it obviously had nothing to do with the truth of what was going on. In the Christian period, things seem to have died down a little bit, since the church apparently frowned upon such high-minded discussions of philosophy and science, and of course not anything else that might be happening in such affairs. It is, of course, utterly untrue, and the whole tradition definitely continued underground for at least 1,000 years, since it is definitely known to us within the community that hosts these things that even Sir Thomas Aquinas was part of one with all the philosophers of Christendom in a small island in the outside the coast of Spain, sometimes in the late 12th century. Again, Thomas Aquinas there, having made a famous and remarkable oratory on the reality and existence of the divine within the physical world, after reputedly downing at least 3 bottles of wine and bedding at least 6 of the most attractive maidens on the... And you should focus on the oratory, people. You should definitely focus on the oratory. I am not really as good as explaining this as I had hoped, but you should focus on the oratory and the high-minded philosophical discussions. There are some indications that these events might even have been held in nunneries, where, you know, the expression "get thee to a nunnery" obviously referred to the true and high-minded discussions that the nuns would have about the spirituality of the world and their own place within it. Newton was, in fact, reputed to have discovered the theory of gravity when someone threw an apple into his head during the great feast and the great nerdweek of 1567, where, in fact, everyone was collected, and Francis Bacon became rather famous within the community for his great oratory on the glory of wine, women, song, and philosophy, a subject that I believe applies to all of us. Now, as philosophers became more interested perhaps in Masonic rituals and, you know, discussions about religion, again, the Puritan age of the 1700s, again, Nerdweek was forced underground, and for a while it was unknown what happened to it. People, in fact, probably think that it has been dead for at least all that time. However, as the current host of the 2017 version, I am here to tell you that it is a lie. As of next week, in fact, starting Monday, we are prepared to finally again go public with this most great and glorious collection of the best minds of the world and the most gloriously intelligent, beautiful ladies available to keep us to be there alongside our high-minded discussions. Of course, some might argue that it's basically just an excuse for game playing, movie watching, and general, you know, debauched rumpings, but as I and Creamy Seepage are the, you know, primary speakers of this particular one, I think you can all basically agree upon the fact that this will be a clear and honest and scientifically minded discussion, completely without anything that might occur that people could, you know, consider to be in any way lewd or debauched. So yeah, please join us next week as we will publish several vlogs that details the high-minded and philosophical discussions we're going to have, along with absolutely nothing discussing drunken gaming debauchery, absolutely nothing that has to do with women being, absolutely nothing to game and... Join us next week for a couple of vlogs that will not in any way be lewd or funny or anything else, but will simply be pure discussions of high-minded civility. Yeah, that's it, I think. Yeah, probably. So, that was it. I feel pretty good about this. I felt like I get the point across rather well. I hope you have gotten now a greater understanding and a greater appreciation for the sort of discussions that will be occurring at Nerdweek, this greatest collection of philosophers and great thinkers of any age. If this is something that might take your fancy, well, there is always Nerdweek of 2018 if you haven't, you know, participated this year. And just remember, every rumor about drunken debauchery is absolutely and completely false. I swear. Until I publish one of those vlogs, I have been the Sage, and I wish you all a very happy day.